So how do we set environment variables with Python? Well, I'm going to open up a terminal. I'm just going to click Control tilde on my Mac, and this is going to pop up a new terminal session. So before I show you how you can do it with Python, I want to show you how it kind of works with just a normal terminal. So in a normal terminal, when I open it, if I type something like print env, and then I do something like my_test, like that's going to be the variable that we're going to set, right? Or that's going to be the environment variable. If I hit enter, you'll see that nothing returns back. Well, that's because there is no environment variable called my_test. Now, if I go ahead to create one using the terminal, I'm going to say export my_test is equal to, and I'm just going to give it the value of this value right there. So now that is gone. Now if I go ahead and hit my print env my test again, what you'll see is that value now exists. I have that value. But here is the caveat. If I were to close this session of this terminal session and just kill it, right? If I go ahead and reopen it, hitting Control tilde, or you can come up to the top of your VS Code and it says terminal in the top terminal tab, you can say new terminal. And that will restart one. Now, if I go ahead and if I do this print my_test, nothing, why isn't it there? The reason is because when you do an export in a terminal, that is temporary. It's only going to create a temporary environment variable. If you want to set it and make it permanent, you need to run that export command, and you need to take this and put it in, like, if you're on Linux, like your bash.rc file, if you're on a Mac, like your Z profile, or those kind of like login, or those scripts that get ran when the terminal is created. On Windows, I believe you're going to use the set command to do the same type of thing. But I don't do a ton of Windows, but I believe it is essentially going to change this export for something like set. I believe that is what it is. But if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments below, because I'd love to learn. So that is how you can set it during the terminal, or using a terminal. So how do we set it in with Python? All right, so to set an environment variable in a Python script, essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to create our main guard. I'm going to use my little snippet that I created, my Python snippet, that'll create that. And then I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to actually want to import OS. This is what we're going to use to do some of this. In a previous video, I showed you how you can use os.getEnv. And then you can do something like my_test, and we can print this out. We'll just do an F string for this. Note with an F string that if you use the single quote here, you need to use the alternate, so the double quote on this. There we go. Oh, I gotta close that. All right, so just like that, that should work. Now, if I open up this terminal and pull this down a little bit so we can see, and cd into the OS, and then do Python how to set environment variables. If we run this, you'll see is that when we run this, that it's going to look for the environment of my_test. Well, that's not set, like I mentioned. I don't have it in there. I don't have it permanently set up to do so. So we want to set it. And when this doesn't find it, it's just going to return the value of none. All right. So now how do we set it? Well, we can go in and we can say something like os dot and then env environ, and then we're just going to access it like a lit or a dictionary, excuse me. And then we're going to say my_test is going to equal to, let's just say the string of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, kind of like we did before. Now, if I go ahead and run this again, this should now pull out that value, right? Because we didn't have it before. We set the value, and then we are going to retrieve it back to make sure that we get it. So we'll go ahead and reset this and rerun the script. And just like that, you'll see that, hey, look, when I run it the first time, like I mentioned, it's none because it's not found. And then when I go ahead and set it using Python, and then run that get command again, it's now there. Well, let's check what happens if we do something like echo $my_test. It's not there. What in the world? Or let's go ahead and do like we did before, print env and do my test. It's not there. Here is the caveat with setting environment variables using Python. They act just like a temporary environment variable. So if I go ahead and set this here, it's only going to be accessible to this particular script or any other sub-process that this script may kick off. So what this means is yeah, it's cool that you can set environment variables and do it. And then, if this script that you have running spawns off other versions of processes or whatever that they need access, then hey, that might be a great idea. But the alternative is is, yes, we can set environment variables, but it's probably easier to either just set up your server or set up your computer to like using like your bash RC or your Z profile file to actually set them so that they're permanently there to be used. Otherwise, once this program exits, so does that environment variable. So the alternative though is to create a .env file, which I'll cover that in another video. And basically here's a sample. It's empty, but we'll create another video. We'll talk about this .env file and how it can be used to hold your environment variables so they're more permanent rather than just exiting right here. So that's your Python tip of the day. Till next time, keep on programming.